Hi, everyone. Welcome to episode 12. With March being Women's Month, I've spent a lot of time over the past couple of weeks engaging with other midlife women and sharing our stories of the pursuit of fulfillment in our own respective lives. Today, I introduce you to Yolanda White, an executive leader that has managed iconic brands in the cosmetic, automotive, food and beverage industries, and now revolutionizing women's leisure fashion as CEO of her own loungewear brand, DAYO. Yolanda's transition into her entrepreneurial endeavor is backed with over 17 years of marketing leadership experience at the Coca-Cola Company. She served as a marketing leader on several billion-dollar brands, including Coca-Cola, Powerade, Sprite, Fanta, and Golden Peak, and is committed to building DAYO as a strong brand. Yolanda prides herself in being a cutting-edge business leader and an inspirational force for all things related to uplifting women. Early in her career, she was recognized by Brand Week as one of the marketers of the next generation. Since that time, her business achievements were acknowledged by Ad Age, CNN, Atlanta Journal-Constitution, Essence, and The Today Show, to name a few. Additionally, many fashion and lifestyle publications, including Essence, People, Rolling Out, and many more, have featured her brand, DAYO, for its style, commitment to self-love, and the face of the brand, Chilli of the girl group TLC. This force to be reckoned with is steadfast in her vision of disrupting the loungewear and pajama industry to bring women more style and functionality so they can look and feel their best. Stay with me and welcome Yolanda White.
You're listening to Designing Midlife, a podcast about today's midlife woman. Ladies, we're more youthful, active, and demanding than any midlife generation before. Join Taj as she dispels the notion of crisis, learn to conquer in all facets from health to career, and design the midlife of your dreams.
Welcome, Yolanda. It's happy to have you at the Designing Midlife podcast. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, and I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
I'm very happy to have you here. When we spoke a couple weeks ago, and just kind of doing, I guess, a discovery chat on, to see if we were going to do the podcast and just kind of getting to know each other. And I kind of dive down the Yolanda Google search post that conversation on one of my flights during spring break. And it made me even more excited, especially because it is Women's Month and you hit so many of the boxes for me. And I'm not going to start out with that list. I'll spill it through our conversation, but everything that just the past 20 years of your career has represented is also a big part of why I do this podcast. So for that reason alone, it's truly a pleasure to have you here with me. I wanted to start the conversation or give you an opportunity to start the conversation to just share what that past 20 or so years has looked like for you and what has brought you to, this point in your career.
Wow. I mean, honestly, when you start talking about the number of years, it feels so long when you say 20 or 25 or even 30 years, But the reality is, I've been very focused about my career the entire time. And, I really consider myself a business mogul, and I went through the discipline of marketing as, my area of choice. And really, it was because I'm fascinated with people and I love people, and it's really at the center of what I do. So I basically have focused all my career on creating brands, developing brands, and making sure that I was creating this relevant relationship with consumers on a day-to-day basis. And that path took me a number of different ways. I mean, I've worked for car companies to cosmetic companies with Estee Lauder, and of course, where I spent the bulk of my career at Coca-Cola. But I also played in food with ConAgra and Quaker Oats as well. And the area of discipline that I basically focused on was brand marketing. And brand marketing basically is a discipline that focuses on building the strategic marketing business plan for any brand. And so people think marketing is all about just being creative. No, I had to develop strategy and objectives and ensure that there were clarity on plans in order to make sure that we could build and grow a business. So that's what the 20 years like experience has been for me. And during that time, I had the opportunity to really climb up the ranks, to be honest. Like I started off at the entry level, and I do have my MBA. So I really, once I completed my MBA, I came in at mid-level. And I was able to climb up to an executive level, which is really exciting to say. But what it gave me privy into is really how businesses are run and how decisions are made, you know? So I love that. And then after 20 some odd years, I literally began to dream, honestly. And my dreams started to become bigger than the companies that I was working for, and the company that I worked for at that time, which was Coca-Cola. And I started dreaming about, if I could design the way I work every day, would it look like a 9 to 5, which honestly was like 9 to 5 and then back on 8 to 12, you know what I mean? But would it look this way? Would I work with the same type of people? And would I be delivering the same promise in the marketplace? And as I started to answer those questions, at the time with my life coach, the answer was no. And so that's when I decided to dream and create and take a risk in order to design what we're about to talk about now, which is my new company, DAYO Women.
You speak of yourself modestly. I'm just going to put that out there. I'm just going to.
Yes, ma'am.
There's a lot of beautiful sound bites, and you are everything multiplied by 100. And you are a marketing expert, veteran. You have worked with Fortune 100 brands, and you have driven remarkable results for those brands. And I wanted to say that because the confidence that comes from you naturally, a big part of that confidence is your experience, because you've lived it, right? You've lived it with these really large multi-million-dollar budgets. So you know what that feels like to execute on that level, right? And, and very different from a small business perspective, right? Where the creativity has to be exponentially multiplied because you don't have that budget. It is exciting to see you in this space, as we, move in to talk about DAYO, your own baby, your brand, because understanding that perspective you've lived with your entire career, your professional life, what is that transition like? And I thought about that when I thought about this interview with, like, oh my gosh, that must have been humbling in a sense, but also such a challenge, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you, the transition moving from corporate into becoming an entrepreneur, it really challenged me on a number of different fronts. And there was a lot of work I had to do in the upfront in order to get myself ready for what I was about to face. And some of that work honestly came with just a life coach helping me understand like my dreams and what I really wanted to do. And that came in the design and development of DAYO. But then it really came to strategic planning. And so it was kind of like, I think I've told you this story, but I really would love for your listeners to know the story. But like, I knew I wanted to become an entrepreneur. I knew that I wanted to have a purpose-driven brand that really was about elevating women. There were pieces I knew, but I had no idea what the product was. I'm on the telephone with my girlfriend, and some people hate I tell this story, but I'm on the telephone with my girlfriend and she tells me her marriage is failing. And I had 2 questions for her. Like, do you want to save it? She's like, absolutely. And the second question was like, what do you wear when you get home with your husband? Not knowing that this question would lead me down a path that would make me go develop my own brand. Okay. So she's like, basically after she tells me about the BS she wears, and honestly, I did the same thing when I was married, and many of my friends do the same thing. Okay,
guilty.
right?
You're guilty.
And I was like, girlfriend, I'm about to go look at some stuff. I'm going to send you something. And as I'm about to hang up the phone, she's like, I don't want to show this. I want it to be comfortable. She's giving me her brief of what she really wanted in her loungewear. And I couldn't find anything that matched her brief. So I decided to create it. It wasn't born out of, I just love fashion, or I think I'm the most stylish woman. It came from a place that we as modern day women have new needs about how we show up at home. Number one. Number two, there's been no innovation for us as women in terms of what that looks like. So I decided to bring some. And number three is I just felt like there was this white space that I could go dream about, that I wanted to deliver an answer that was rooted in something beyond clothes. It would be rooted in helping women see themselves, love themselves, and put something on them that was not about validation from someone else. It was about validation for themselves. And so that was really my mission. It was that simple. I was like, the clothes are offset of it. But if I can really help women love themselves a little bit more, see themselves a little bit more, and share that journey with other women, I think we would be even more elevated together as a community of like powerful, strong, driven, women that are not only like transcending and changing what's happening in the workplace, but doing it within our homes as well. So that was kind of what I set out to do.
The mission is powerful, and you know, to give some context on timeline, you say you launched DAYO 2 years ago, right? Roughly 2 years ago. And so you left corporate. You were with Coca-Cola for
20 years, almost
20 years, right? So and you left Coca-Cola 2 years ago, or when did
so
that?
I left in 2018.
Oh wow, 2018.
So I literally spent 6 months building and designing the strategic plan and the product proposition for DAYO. And listen, I work my company like I work for Coke. So there's no days that are less than an 8-10 hour day ever.
Right.
And it's probably more like 14, 16 hour days. And the reason why is I try to give myself one space to be innovative in my thinking, creative in my thinking, to make sure that my ideas land on paper, because I think that's so important for us as business women to let what's in our head like really come to life through something we can go back and check ourselves on.
Yeah.
And it came from budgeting plans, talking to lawyers, trademarking things, you know, it's like, and honestly, making sure that I was building an infrastructure that wasn't short term, that was something that it could scale up and be a business that honestly, as it grows, like I have the infrastructure underneath it for it to grow. So I literally in 6 months, I launched the first collection. Within another 8 months, I was ready with the second collection, and we've launched the third collection. In between time, we've actually done limited edition items, different colors, and it's all about like celebrating women and bringing them something new, you know? So listen, my friend, I don't really sleep, you know what I mean? And in between time, I'm like hiking and trying to figure out what blush might look good on my
Right. I hear it. And you know, the timing of it also is just in a sense worked out, because you launched DAYO and then a year later we're COVID, you know, and we are literally quarantined at home. Right?
I mean, it's been a blessing and a curse, you know.
Yeah.
It's a blessing because I no longer had to carry the weight of educating people about what loungewear is and the occasion, because that was a lot of what was in the business plan. How can I educate women and change their behavior and help them understand the importance of, you take off your work clothes and you're basically putting on crap, and then you put on pajamas that don't look that much better, to be honest. You know what I mean? So now it's like, oh, but I'm at home all day. So if I need to be at home all day, what does it look like for me? And how can I go from computer to couch seamlessly and do it in something that makes me feel good? And if I happen to need a blazer to throw over, like this could also work really good for me, you know?
Right.
So I felt like it was a blessing in that I didn't have to do a lot of heavy lifting to educate people about the occasion. The curse was I had to work really hard to make sure that I was reaching, finding, and connecting with women in the way that I wanted DAYO to deliver that personal experience. And I had to be able to do it, honestly, like we're talking through a screen, you know, versus going out, touching and connecting. So like I have pop-up shop experiences planned in New York City canceled. I have, you know what I mean? So we had trade show experiences planned in New York. Those still went on, but they went on virtually. So the first time that I'm introducing my brand to someone is through a screen. It's not through them touching the beautiful soft fabric that I've spent so much time, like, you know, procuring. It wasn't through the look and feel of. So I really had to reinvent the way DAYO showed up in order to make those connections most effective. Honestly, it all worked out. We grew. Like, it was a successful 2020 despite, you know, being stuck at home. And we launched a new collection. It's like, okay, we have a new collection. Let me make sure I think about like my forecasting. And I'm thinking like I have enough to get me through Q1, and I sell out before 2021 actually hits. So I'm like, holy cow, like we're on to something, but like we are in much slower production right now, just given the fact that we still are in COVID. I can't say the word quarantine as much because businesses are back up and running. I produce in Italy. So having this global mindset and mentality and understanding what's happening around the world is still very important to me when I was at Coke and even now as a business owner, because my model is basically globally built out. So.
Right. Wow. I mean, I didn't even know you sourced in Italy. I thought maybe it was out of, California or so that alone speaks to a lot of the challenges. For people that are listening, you take a leap of faith, you leave a very successful career, corporate career, you launch a brand, right? That is a very meaning and powerful brand. And your supply chain runs literally globally, right? And from what it sounds like, you're thriving. And, when I went through the website, and there are some key pieces, especially that top that kind of goes with like a triangle that says sold out. I'm like, oh, I gotta tell her. I gotta ask her, when is that coming back? Because that's a key Miami piece.
Exactly. It's coming back. Yes.
I'm sure it's coming back. And I read the story and I said, wow. I said, well, her hallmarks are equality, self-love, anti-ageism. And it's the anti-ageism and self-love, just it all just speaks volumes to me. And then it's when you think about everything that you just said, I said, well, wow, that's not an easy thing to take on. So did you know, if you always had aspirations for entrepreneurship, but did you know that it would be in fashion, or was there a desire to be a fashion designer?
No. Never knew that.
Okay, so did you so how did that happen?
I mean, honestly, it really came from that conversation, me seeing white face, like I never was the one that said, I'm in awe of fashion designers. Okay. Like if you love like Diane von Furstenberg, she's one of the women that I just think is by far brilliant in her approach. I think, and it's a number of different reasons why, you know what I mean? But I bought one of her shirts that she wrote Pioneer, and the shirt was connected to the year I was born to, but it also speaks to the fact that she designed one thing that women could like put on. It was the wrap dress that became her staple, And then it was women like Tory Burch who like paved the way, that really allowed us to see fashion from a different lens, where she's merging kind of traditional look with something that's a little bit more fun, but she made it her mission to really help other women in business. And so, that to me, so it's like, oh my gosh, I could go through the list of all these designers who I just like fell in love with. And it wasn't solely about the fact that they had solely the most beautiful design. Like we can go through the Tom Fords, we can go, you know what I mean? But I'm talking about like women who really did something that was connecting to me as another woman, you know what I mean? And so, and I found that inspiring, but I never knew or dreamed that that was the path that I wanted to take. What I was more inspired about for my own personal journey was not emulating these beautiful, strong women, but creating something to elevate the everyday woman. That was my mission solely, you know? And so, listen, the real insight that probably hit me the hardest when I was developing, like, is this it or is it? I was like, as women, we show up for the world and strangers, beautiful and put together. And when it's time for us to show up for ourselves and for the people who are closest to us, it doesn't look quite as fancy and quite as beautiful and quite as confident so that really was what inspired me to say, like, let me help women flip that and still stay comfortable and in their truth when they do that. And that was really like my goal and my mission. So no, it didn't start with me saying I want to be a fashion mogul. No, I want to give people comfy loungewear that they feel fly in and that they could wear it 1,000 different ways and feel like the value for their money is working really hard for them.
Yeah, no, I do see a hint of DVF actually, especially with the wrap tops and some of the silhouettes and the dresses, and you know, so those are all flattering pieces, right? Yeah, they're all very flattering pieces. So I really enjoyed the collection. I implore all my listeners to check out DAYO, and I will share the website towards the end, because there are other words that come to mind that you don't necessarily use in your marketing language as well, because I find the pieces very sexy. And I also find the pieces very sophisticated. And, you know, it is a very elevated loungewear collection. And, you know, that even added to my excitement, because since a year ago, I've been living in joggers and tank tops, right? I love joggers, but then it's like, I want an option, you know?
I love joggers. I have a form of a jogger, but it's more of a genie pants. You can roll it in a way that turns it into a jogger. You can roll it up higher and turn it into a gaucho. Like, I
saw it, but you know, just the fabric alone, right, makes a world of a difference. The fabric alone, and that's what, you know, I pick up with your collection. The fabric alone is what elevates it, and it's just very. I'm going to use loungy because it does appear very loungy, but it also very soft and cozy, and does exude self-love and just makes you want to feel good when you're working from home, hanging out, laying with your significant other on the couch, just, you know, whatever it is. And so I love it. I love all of it. I love it a lot.
I love hearing that. And I also believe, as women, we've been told too often that sexy means constricting, lacy, satin, like sticking to us. And I love that you've given DAYO the word sexy, because I'm saying sexy can be soft, sexy can be comfortable, sexy can be all covered and still look beautiful. And it's covering, and it's basically like, it gives you the flexibility so you could style it and show the pieces of your body that are most important to you. So if you love your shoulders, you can drop one of your wrap tops and show a little shoulder. Or if you like a little bit of your stomach to show, you can show a little. And if you don't, then you have a styling technique that you can cover it up. That is where I think I'm able to like create that personal connection with women, because it's like, it's not about me forcing on you what sexy is. It's about giving you items that you can make a mission. You know what I mean? So I really appreciate that word. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that was the actual first thing that came to mind. I was like, oh, this is so sexy. And I like that.
And then the word sophisticated, I love, like, I just feel like the women who purchase DAYO, who support our brand from 25 up to like 65, I could talk for days about these women. You know, they're professional, they're creative. And I don't mean professional that they have to go to work every day. I mean, they're professional in the way that they run their lives, the way they run their lives for their families. I have everyone from, you know, celebrity wives, all the way to executives that wear DAYO, to the everyday woman who is like, I go to work every day and I just want to come home and feel beautiful, you know, give it to me. So I just feel like you even putting the word sophisticated really does embody the type of woman that we appeal to. And so when you look at all the colors, even of the new collection for Elements, we basically have named the colors. So like you get the color, but you get an attribute for each woman. So we have blissful beige. We had tantalizing tan. Now we have charming, romantic rust. Like we really tried to boldly black, like we really tried to pull out attributes that we believe embody the woman that wears DAYO. So yeah.
Love it. Love it all. So DAYO is not all that Yolanda is, right? Because I we have author, speaker, of course, mom, right? Business coach. And you mentioned earlier that you used to work with a life coach. And, I find that in a lot of the women that I speak to, when they have reached a point where they're ready to pivot,
Yeah.
and they just need a little bit of assistance in gaining that clarity on really what it is they're aiming for. They're using life coaches. And so my eyebrow went up when you said that, because it is becoming more of a norm to be like, it's okay, right? It's okay to engage with someone that's going to help you figure it out. But how did you come about with all these titles too? Because we haven't even touched up on
any of those yet. Okay, so listen, life coaches have been around for a very long time. And most executives at companies, which the average person does not get to see, they used to be called executive coaches. So they're executive coaches and these are individuals that can help you see your blind spot. And that blind spot can come in front of you from a number of different ways. It could be a blind spot with how you work with people. It could be like the work that you naturally lean into. There's these blind spots. But anywho, short answer is, for me, the life coach really started to help me like be confident in pursuing the things that were of interest, and to help me figure out if there were any narratives that were holding me back from actually taking a leap into it. You know what I mean? So that's where I found it super duper helpful. I will tell you, I think I naturally like feel as if taking a risk and failing is something that has had to become my norm. Like any success that you gather, like you have to know that it may not be a success, but if you don't go for it, you'll never see whether or not you have it or not. So
absolutely,
I think it just comes with the territory. I remember like very early in my career, my manager asked me to develop a recommendation for a product launch at Coke, right? And I'm like, okay, let me write a recommendation. And I wrote a recommendation, and I literally wanted to go to the president and ask him to invest $35 million in this idea. And so my manager was like, I don't agree with that. It should be grassroots. We should not ask for any money. And I was like, you asked me to do the reco.
right?
I was like, give me a chance to present my reco. And she did.
Wow.
And I walked out with $33 million. So this was the point that I probably realized very early in my career as a manager, like, fight for what you believe in, and somebody may see your vision and they may not see your vision. And if the answer is no, that's okay, but at least fight for what the vision is. So I think you started off earlier with talking about DAYO, like, transitioning from multi-million dollar budgets now to like your self-funded business. And I'll tell you, if you put in the rigor, it may not always matter how much you're spending if the rigor is there. So what I am finding is money matters. I'm not, just like people say size matters, like it does in your investment. You know what I mean? But I also believe if that money is not matched with the rigor, then you won't see great outputs from it. And hopefully, like the women see who purchase DAYO, who it's every detail that we're thinking about, from the packaging to how it's wrapped to how it shows up at your doorstep to the notes that are handwritten for anyone who orders DAYO. Like these are the things that we are tirelessly working to deliver, And so I think like the rigor is something that hands up. I'm like, hey, as an entrepreneur, you got to put in that rigor and make sure that the people who are willing to spend their dollars with you know that you appreciate that they're spending them with you. And that really is at the end of the day what's most important. But yeah, I mean, I put rigor in how it shows up, how I capture women, how I celebrate this notion of anti-ageism, how I celebrate and embody like self-love, how I celebrate equality as a Black leader and business owner. Like, these are all tenets that are very important to me in the business.
I'm glad you mentioned what the or describe what the life coach did for you, because I talk to a lot of women in, midlife, outside of the podcast, just in terms of, where we are. And, so many of us are stuck, right? We're stuck, and understanding how to get unstuck, right? Understanding how to define what are those things that are blocking you, like you said, that your life coach did for you, is a very deep and powerful experience, because most of us on our own, we don't know how to do that. We just know that we're at a phase in our life where we feel like we're made for more, right? We know we're made for more. We know this is not it.
Yeah.
And I say it all the time that we are the most youthful midlife generation of any midlife generation before, right? Think about your mother, your grandmother. Like, by the time they were our age, they were like, oh, the world is for you, but
We're like, no, it's still for you too. But
okay. Right. And our generation is like, no, the world is still very much our oyster, and we have a lot left to do, and we want to go for it. And there's like I said, so many on the other hand they want to go for it. They know that life is not over for them. They want more. They're still feeling really youthful, but just how to get unstuck. Yeah. So if you have any advice just to speak to that for women, that, understanding where we are in life and, all that plays against us, we don't.
Yeah, I think I have a couple thoughts here. Let's see. My first thought is the way that we get unstuck is to be honest and truthful with ourselves. And I'll tell you, there are a lot of times we're not honest and truthful with ourselves. And so we let these narratives sit in our head and we don't get them out. We don't purge them. And so the honesty is, I don't know if I feel like I have what it takes to make it. Put it on paper and start to write what you do have that can make you like turn that negative thought into something positive. I just think a lot of it is like, and sometimes it's really am I really willing to put in the work in order to ensure I can make that happen? Because some things take a hell of a lot of work, And so we have to be willing to say, what do I really believe the work is to get that done? And do I really want to do that work? Am I ready to be up and work, as I've said, a 12-hour day to make sure that I can think creatively about 18 different ways you can style your DAYO? It takes work for me to do that. You know what I mean? I remember sitting in my office floor right here and literally calling my fashion assistant, and we were designing at 12 o'clock at night the scarf that you love. And I was like, I have a vision. I really want this piece in the collection. There could be a head scarf, a neck scarf, a shirt. I want this one piece that can do it all. And I was like, here's what I'm thinking. And we literally designed it out. You know what I mean? So then it turns into like all these other fancy terms and like items in order to produce it. But it started there. So, I mean, I think it starts with being truthful, like being truthful about your desires, being truthful about what you want, being truthful about what you think it will take to accomplish it, and making sure that you put some tools around you to help you in that area. A life coach is what I needed to help me like get underneath it. I forgot that I even wanted to be an entrepreneur, to be quite honest with you. So when I finally became an entrepreneur, I remember one of my good girlfriends telling me, she was like, remember how you used to always talk about you wanted a consulting business and you wanted to be an entrepreneur? And I was like, honestly, I don't. Oh, how old was I? 20? Oh, then? Oh, okay. But honestly, the thought of it is like, oh my gosh, I have always dreamed about it. And whenever I would get mad at my company, I'm like, I'm going to start my own company. But that was my way of like knowing I wanted to do it, but I never like took the risk or put the pen to paper like this is it. You know what I mean? So I think just being truthful and honest and dusting off those things that really matter to you, and living in that truth in every single aspect of your life will help you have the clarity that you need to keep staying unstuck. And the reason why I think that word unstuck is so powerful is because we are such evolving beings. Like, our state today is not our state for in the next 5 days, and definitely not in a year. And so I always say, like, the more truthful you are about, wow, I feel like I have a new desire to experience this. If you're not honest with yourself about it, you won't be able to go pursue it. So I remember really quick, I know we're like running out of time, but one of my friends, I saw that he posted a picture of himself hiking, and I'm like, that sounds cool, but I'm scared because it's bears in the woods. You know what I mean? So he's like, girlfriend, get your mind right, and literally like come, and not girlfriend as in girlfriend, but girlfriend as in woman, like come out and literally hike with us. And you guys, I've been hiking now maybe 3 or 4 months, something like that. And I absolutely love it. And it's one of those things that if you give you, and we've talked a little bit about hiking, but if you give yourself the opportunity to experience something new, give yourself the opportunity to begin to discover you and what's important to you, it really does start to create this constant desire to seek things that bring that joy. And for me, hiking wasn't necessarily about the act of just walking, but it was really about me getting in tune with myself, understanding my strength and power, enjoying the beautiful outdoors, and all at the same time, like safely connecting with other people and doing something that I never knew I would love as much. And it cut up my legs, by the way. I was like, ooh, legs are cut. So, so, like, I don't know. I just think we have to be on this constant desire to be truthful and say, like, if something looks interesting, don't hold yourself back from experiencing it. Go try it, especially if it's something that's safe.
Another thing with your hiking also that comes to mind is pushing past fear, right? Because that holds us back too, fear.
Yeah.
And then when we realize when we get on that other side, how gratifying that is.
I'm laughing because I hear like a rustle in the like trees and in the woods, and I'm like frightened. It's taken me a while to get over that fear. You know what I mean? But if you apply that to life, I think I just found a quote that I posted. It's the best view is found after the hardest climb. And I was like, while it can relate to hiking, I really believe it relates to life in general.
Absolutely.
If you're willing to put in the work, and if you're willing to make the climb, the view and the benefits that you find on the other side of that will be amazing. I know one time we did a hike, it was only like 3 miles, but we got to the top of the mountain and I was like, this was so worth it. That's all I could hear in the video playing in the background. This was so worth it, So I'll tell you, sitting here as an entrepreneur after many years of working for a company and climbing the corporate ladder and making a ton of money, I can still tell you, like, this has been so worth it for me. And so, I really have allowed myself to truly like dive into my business and make the type of difference that I really set out to do. And it continues to be like my North Star. So
that's
excited.
Beautiful. And I'm so thankful that you shared that with me. And I'm extremely happy and proud of you. And just keep soaring.
Thank you. We're gonna have your triangle top back in. It's
let me know.
the birthday scarf. We'll have it in stock for you, and it'll be like your official first like DAYO item. So I'm excited about
Thank you very much. I was like, I got to get it before summer, as long as I have it before summer.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So Yolanda, before we go, please share with everyone, where can they find you, website, Instagram, whatever is happening.
Yeah, so the website is really like a great destination. On there, I actually write a lot of personal blogs myself just to keep people in tune with where I am, like from a mindset perspective. But it is DAYO Women, so DAYO Women. And if you have any listeners that are from like Africa, it would be DAYO, not DAYO. So I'm very respectful of that. The name is an African name, you guys. And this really speaks to me thinking about equality and celebrating, Black women in general. But the name is an African name. It is the first two letters of my name, the last two letters of my first name in reverse. And that is basically DAYO. It is my personal signature on the brand, but it's DAYO women .com. And you can find everything from the blogs to like virtual events and what we're doing. And of course, you can definitely like shop there and get style tips. Like you can style DAYO, but you can find other things that you might be able to style.
I saw all of that. Yep.
Okay. It's fun. We have some new content that's coming up soon. And then if you want to follow us on Instagram or any other social media, it's DAYO Women. So DAYO Women as well. And then somewhere in between there, you might be able to find me and follow me at I am Yolanda W.
And I'll make sure I share all of that in the show notes. And, last thing before you go, what's next for Yolanda? What are you working on?
Well, we have a new podcast that's coming very soon with one of the business publications. So I'm super excited about that. I've been told, to continue innovating. So you'll see some really fun content things coming from DAYO, as well as new products as well. So we're really excited about that. We'll be announcing that in a month. But when you ask the bigger question, what do you see for Yolanda? Listen, I tell women, we're very quick to answer with all the business stuff. And, I think for me, I'm going into another phase of life in the next 5 years. My kids will be graduating from high school. They'll be going to college. I will be a full empty nester. And so for Yolanda, you're going to see me around the world.
Nice.
And I'll officially have my place in Italy. So, I just think as much as we dream, ladies, about work, what it will be and what life should look like for, business and our accomplishments, just make sure like we spend the time dreaming about what our personal lives should look like. I did this one exercise and I know we have to go, but it was a guided meditation to talk to your future self. And I didn't know what it was when I heard this term, and it's a lady here who does it. But she takes you through this guided process where you actually, in a few minutes, as she's taking you through it, you see your future self. And, I tell women, if you don't love what you see after you go through that guided experience, then hopefully you're dedicated to change what that looks like. I just happen to love the woman that I saw after I did my guided meditation. And so I'm working very actively to make sure that in today's time, I show up happy and full with the goal that I'm still happy and full and doing the things that I love as I walk into my future state. So
that's beautiful. We share that in common too. My son is in 9th grade. So he's out of high school in 3-4 years. And I tell my husband all the time, location independence. That's my goal. I just want, I just want to go.
Me too. I was like, yep, this is your house here. This is come back to, we'll figure out where mommy will be.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, it's cool.
Listen, I love that guided meditation idea. I'm going to look that up for myself because that is powerful. And Yolanda, thank you so much again for being here with us. I truly enjoy hearing your story, your journey, and I look forward to talking to you so many more times in the future.
Sounds great. I loved it. Thank you so much. Keep doing what you're doing. It's awesome.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.